Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Reborn Football Podcast. I'm Tans.
And I'm Fuego.
And we're going to get into the rest of the episode. But before we get into that, I just want to say hope you guys had a happy Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate at this time. But, for the purposes of this podcast, mainly I hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Of course.
And now we're going to get into the verse of the episode. So I'll let Fuego take us away with it.
Yeah, today's verse of the episode is John 3, verse 16. And it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life."
So, obviously, if you asked anyone in the world to name a verse in the Bible, this would probably be, off the top of their head, this would probably be, the verse. This is the verse that people like to get tattooed. They like to put in their Instagram bios. Probably, maybe this and maybe like Philippians 4:13. But, coming back to the point of the verse, obviously, it's a very important verse because in basically a sentence, it shows the whole essence of the Christian faith, which is that God so loved the world that he sacrificed his one and only Son to come onto the earth and be like us in our imperfections, in our humanness, in our mistakes, to be like us, but yet still be perfect and be sacrificed for our sins. So, it's a verse that shows the good news of obviously the gospel of our religion, that our sins are paid for, our iniquities are blotted over. And it just, once again, it just shows the love that God had for us, even with all the negative things that happened before this point in the Bible, all the negative things that we do. God knew everything that we would do, everything that the people in the Bible would do, everyone, every person that's ever existed in the world. He knew what we would do and how we would, fall short at times. And he was willing to give up his Son, to allow us to have a chance to be with him both in earth and in heaven. To kind of supplement the point as well and kind of lead onto a smaller kind of secondary point. The verse Luke 11, the verse Luke chapter 11, verse 33, which says, "No one after lighting a lamp puts it in a cellar or under a basket, but on a stand, so that those who enter may see the lights." So essentially, now that we have this good news, which is exemplified by, John 3:16, it is up to us as Christians, who are saved, to tell the good news, spread the gospel, evangelize, whatever, God calls you to do, to spread the word in whatever way that you can, so that other people can also be saved.
Yeah, heavy on that second point, that, we call it the good news. We need to as Christians, we need to really understand what we mean when we say the good news. Because if news is good, like, for example, you get your exam results and you did so much better than you thought you did, or you did it like really well, you expected to do really well, and you're really happy about it. The first thing you want to do is tell the people who are close to you how well you did, tell them about the experience and all of that stuff. If the knowledge of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior is truly such good news to you, you would want everybody who is close to you, everybody who you can impact, and everybody who, has a special place in your heart, to also share in the joy that you have in your salvation, So it's important that we fully understand our salvation to the point where we can call it good news. And at the point where it's good news, it's just going to be automatic at that point, that anybody you meet, if you have an opportunity to tell them about this Jesus that you know and has brought so much joy and so much peace into your life, you'll jump at the opportunity to do so.
That's just the thing, like, I think do we really understand the depth, the level of what, God has done for us, what God and Jesus have done for us, in giving us this salvation. Because if anyone who's a bit, further along in studying the Bible would have read, you've read a little bit of the Old Testament, and You know what went down there when for certain people that, did certain sins. So imagine living in a world like that where, you could be punished immediately for your sins. But in fact, God gives you the opportunity that no matter what you've done, you can come back to him and in him be a new creation. But that's the key. In him be a new creation. You have to allow God to come into your life, to change your thoughts, change your attitudes, change the way you react to everything. But it's not you doing it so that you can be saved. That's kind of the key distinction that kind of gets lost in translation. It's not you that does it so that God saves you. God saves you, and because of that salvation, the good, the fruits of the Spirit flow out through you.
Yeah. Good talk. Welcome back, guys. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Obviously, today is the 8th of January, first episode of the new year.
In recording, it's not coming out today.
Yeah, of course, it's not coming out today. We're still, there's a new structure that we have in place. But obviously, you guys will probably have noticed that you haven't seen or heard from us in quite a while. We have not disappeared. We are very much still active, still here. Between technical difficulties, differences in schedules, and loads of other things that were trying to kind of set us back, we weren't able to do an episode for quite some time. And even when we did get around to do it, the devil kept trying and trying and trying. But we have a new laptop, glory be to God. So hopefully you guys will be hearing a lot more from us now, maybe a little bit less frequently, but more consistently now. So now that that's done, I think we can kind of get into the football, get into some of the stuff. I guess not so much the stuff that we've missed, because, there's a lot of things that happened over even just the month of December football-wise. But we did say we want to talk a little bit about the AFCON, which is about to start. What date is it supposed to start on?
I think it starts on Saturday. I think Ivory Coast are playing Guinea-Bissau. That's the first game.
Okay.
I think because Ivory Coast are the hosts. Because that's Nigeria's group as well. We're both from Nigeria, so we have a vested interest in what goes on in that game because we are in Group A. Yeah, Ivory Coast will be playing Guinea-Bissau on Saturday, and then Nigeria will be playing their first game against Equatorial Guinea on Sunday. So yeah, AFCON is kind of like the big football event of the month, you have a few players going away from European teams to go join their countries at AFCON, the likes of Victor Osimhen and Mohamed Salah. Mm-hmm. These are probably the two biggest names right now going to join African countries in this tournament. And around this time of year, when AFCON is taking place, the conversation is always, why is AFCON in the winter? Why is AFCON, in the middle of the European season? Like, this is annoying. Like, players have to go, etc., etc. And, even on a slight tangent, Pep, like, none of Man City's vital players are like going to AFCON or going to the Asian Cup.
You know what I'm even thinking about now? City don't have anyone going.
Yeah.
Like in previous years, it was Riyad Mahrez, and Mahrez is gone now.
Yeah.
In previous years, you would have also had Yaya Toure at the time.
And Kolo as well.
But maybe, now this is a conspiracy, do not take this as fact, but the relationship between Pep and Toure might have just been because he's gone every January or every January every few years because of AFCON. But I think City's recruiting kind of structure and plan probably goes as far as, except the player is exceptionally exceptional, we don't want anyone from Africa. Not because we're racist, but because we know that time is so key in the Premier League in particular as well.
December, January.
It is so key. And that's, you fear now with Kevin De Bruyne coming back, Doku coming back. We saw there even yesterday, they literally played, what was it, 25 minutes, 30 minutes?
And De Bruyne had an assist to Doku.
Exactly. So, getting players back, and then on the kind of flip side, Liverpool, if you want to look at it, the City, Liverpool losing Salah, who has been so instrumental. It's like, is there a downside in employing a very high-profile African player, knowing that you're going to lose him mid-season when you probably need him the most?
I mean, of course, there is a downside, but, there is two sides to the story. Obviously, I do feel like sometimes in general conversation, there's a bit of lack of empathy for like the general fans or like, the teams involved, like in Europe. Like, for example, imagine a Liverpool fan who has no ties to Africa and you tell them that their best player is gone for a month in the middle of the season. But at the same time, in hosting football tournaments, weather, climates, these sort of things are very important. And if you're hosting the African Cup of Nations in a country that is above the equator, then it's going to be really hot in those summers. It would be like very, very unlikely, like very, very unfeasible to hold a football tournament with some of the temperatures that it can get to in some African summers. So you have to take that into consideration as well, that it is best to hold the tournament in the winter.
Exactly. Of course, the World Cup of 2022 is testament to that. So I think I was saying this just before the episode, that maybe it's a thing where FIFA kind of need to put some regulation or put some rules in place that, maybe these competitions need to be held at times when there's no football going on. So obviously, football all over the world was kind of just put to a standstill because everybody was at the World Cup from the middle of November till the very end, to the middle of December, basically. This would have been not December, just past December before that. But, it's kind of, obviously, the African Cup of Nations is Africa's equivalent to the Euros, is America's equivalent of, or Africa's equivalent of the CONCACAF for America and all of that stuff. So it has to be played. You can't kind of look down on it as, it's only Africa or something like that, because they're still kind of part of FIFA. But obviously the Euros are on in the summer, and the football season in Europe conveniently doesn't go through the summer. So the question needs to be asked that maybe it's a regulation thing where, in order for these teams in Europe who are employing Africans not to lose their key players, do we need to rejig the calendar?
See, the only kind of solution to that is reducing the amount of games that's played.
They're screaming out for the players.
Like the player, and this is probably like a pretty big, this is a wider issue than just AFCON.
Yeah.
But the players play way too much, and we're really starting to see it, even with the amount of ACL injuries, or rather serious injuries that have happened this season. In terms of serious injuries, we've had Timber, Kevin De Bruyne, what's his name, Fofana, Reece James, and then even just recurring injuries as well. It's happening on a lot more consistent basis. And it's, obviously, we are not little kids. We understand that football is a business, and with quite simple maths, when there's more games, there's more money for the clubs, etc., more profits, etc. But at what point does it become too much? At what point do you have to consider the health of the players? Because at the same time, if the health of the players, the welfare of the players keeps decreasing, the quality of the product is going to decrease. Me and Fuego both have a little bit of a background in economics, so I'm sure he understands what I'm talking about. The law of diminishing marginal utility.
Yeah.
At a point, it's not gonna help anymore. So where is that point where we cut back a little bit on how much these players are playing?
I think honestly, it's probably not gonna happen until you get like a very, very prominent team have like a massive injury list, in the sense that maybe a team who is tipped to win a title, like they are going to win the Champions League the way they're going, or they're going to win the Prem, or they're going to win another top 5 league, and then they don't, simply because they lose so many of their key players. I think until something like that happens. Like it's a case where you need to lose, like say for example at City, you need to lose Kevin De Bruyne for the season. You need to lose Haaland for the season, and you need to lose one other very key player in that squad for the season before people are going to take this whole players need to be rested seriously. Because as much as, you know, you would think that it shouldn't need to get to that point, because, you know, we said it in the previous episode that the players are still human beings at the end of the day. So their work product, so we go, like say for example, I go to work, I'm working on a laptop, I'm using Excel, whatever. Their work, what they do is they use their bodies. So, you know, it's not that type of using their bodies, but their output is their physical performance in a sports competition. So they need to eat right. That's part of their job. They need to train however many days a week. So you see, when you think about the teams who have the schedules where they're playing in 4 competitions up until maybe December, January, February, that's taking a toll on the players' bodies already. And then there's talk of adding extra matches to that for their country in the summer. So they don't even get that break. At the end of the day, they're probably getting a break of maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks in a calendar year. And the only other break you get is when you get injured. So I was hearing things like people talking about it looking like or seeming as though Kevin De Bruyne is coming back from like a really long holiday, which is something that he hasn't had in a long time, simply because he injured himself and he was out for 4 months. But you know, it shouldn't take a player getting injured before they get time off, because they're still doing their job while they're injured, in terms of I need to rehabilitate myself and get myself back to the point where I can push my body when I'm fully fit again. So it's a never ending cycle, and inevitably it's just going to lead to these players having really, really, really kind of worn out, tired muscles, bones. Their body is just not going to be the way it should be after they retire, in terms of just living a healthy kind of normal life. And that's the reason why, you know, in the corporate sector, you know, you work from maybe 22 to 65. In football, at this point, you're working from maybe 16 to 36.
And I won't lie, that's on the good end of the scale. Like I'm pretty sure the average football career isn't like even 10 years.
Is it not?
I don't have the statistics, but like if you take every football player into consideration, it's probably not even 10 years, because you know it's a short period of your life.
Because you even think about injuries and the outliers where somebody would have been so good, but they had a career-ending injury. And that's the risk that we're running at this point, with so many more games being added to the calendar.
Exactly. Ironically, they're making the Champions League have even more games next year.
I mean, see, it's an interesting concept. It's going to bring in more money. More people are going to watch the Champions League next year.
But
definitely.
The players are playing more games.
That's the issue there.
You know, even this even brought a thought to mind. Remember, right, COVID, you know, when we had the few months break because of the outbreak, and then we came back, and then these certain players were having the most insane purple patches. You know, obviously purple players have purple patches, but a lot of players, especially like that little summer period where they were just trying to finish out the games, and then the entire season after that, I think the 2020-2021 season, a lot of players had, you know, were behaving like we'd never seen them before. You think like what's it called? Remember they used to call him NHS Martial, Pulisic, Bamford. Remember when Jesse Lingard had that crazy period? I think it was like early 2021. So, you know, couldn't a factor of that sudden upturn in performance for certain players be the fact that probably for the first time in years they got to have a proper rest?
Exactly. No, it's true. It's true. Because, you know, when you continually do something constantly, you kind of get drained by that thing. And then you take a break from it. You might not necessarily be less busy, but you take a break from that thing and you kind of come back in refreshed, new ideas, new kind of way of thinking, new, you know, sometimes for a lot of players, especially when they get injured, there's this, obviously it can go one of two ways: your passion and your desire to play, the desire to be on the pitch increases drastically when you know you just can't play. It's probably one of the most annoying feelings. Anybody who plays football or has played football and has been injured at some point in time will understand what I'm saying there. But that's also something that you can kind of look at in terms of they've had a break. Obviously, in that break, they can't play football. And then they come back and, there's this energy, there's this desire, there's passion about them, which is, might be... Obviously, football is a money-making machine, and the quality is not really being looked at as seriously as maybe it should be.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why, again, it's probably going to take a mass injury outbreak for that to even be considered in the first place. But it's definitely something in terms of the quality of the game that needs to be looked at if they want to kind of... there isn't really a way you can elevate football to the next level because it is pretty much the top sport.
Highest level it could ever be, in my opinion.
But, just getting it to... Probably even getting it
just
to more
preserving
people,
it. Preserving it, I
yeah.
think. Like even like the... Kind of like the first time I encountered like, oh, rah, these players are playing a lot was when I was younger. Obviously, Alexis Sanchez was at Arsenal. Was my favorite player at that time. So I'd keep up to date with him, what he was doing for Arsenal, what he was doing for Chile. The summer before he joined Arsenal, 2014, the World Cup summer, World Cup. 2015, Copa America. Then 2016, they did that like 100-year anniversary Copa America. He won both of those Copa Americas. So that's a whole extra month of football. Then 2017, they had the Confederations Cup. So that was 4 consecutive summers where he didn't have a decent break. And Alexis, in his prime, he was a really hard worker. They'd say, oh, take the extra couple of weeks off because you were at the tournament. But he would always be back like early enough. Like August, he'd be back. You know what I'm saying? So it just made me think that, for certain players, they'll go every summer there's a tournament. Every summer there's a tournament. Every summer there's a tournament. Like that COVID must have been so welcome for a lot of these players. Like, don't get me wrong, they would have been itching to play football again, but it would have been such a good mental reset. And if you come back to the main point, even Varane mentioned it at the start of the season to the PFA. The players are playing too much, and I think kind of the main reason I think it's never really going to go anywhere is because at the end of the day, football is a business. And it's a weird thing where, the footballers are employees, but they're also the product. And the actual consumers are us. We're the customers. And when you hear people on the internet saying, oh, they earn so, K per week, why can't they play every single day? You kind of see that it's going to be hard to really make any serious change because the wider public doesn't consider footballers as people. They earn so amount every week, but people can't fathom how hard it is to be a professional footballer because everyone wants to be a professional footballer. You get like, they have to train every single day. They'll miss Christmas, they'll miss holidays. And the money... And that's only for the top players. For the top players, the money is worthwhile. But at a point, you have to think of health, physical, mental, emotional health. I think we mentioned this before, but imagine a guy, he's going through a divorce or something, has to come in and play football the next day. And you're wondering why he's not playing well.
What's this guy's... I'm even going to search it up now.
Ilicic, isn't it? The Atalanta guy.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking about. And the funniest thing is the way that it just backfired on Icardi last year as well.
On who?
The guy that stole his wife.
The guy that... Oh, yeah, what happened to him?
I have a feeling... One sec. Is it... Am I right to say Icardi? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Icardi... that's a different one. That was Icardi and Lopez.
That's a different one.
Yeah, Icardi stole one guy called, I think, Maxi Lopez.
Yes, okay. That's the name I was looking for.
Yeah.
But... His everything, mental health, emotional health, even his own
pride,
maybe physical. I don't, because how can a man that you consider a brother,
teammate as well,
take away your children? It's messed in the whole kind of like idea of the whole thing. So Your wife cheated on you with your teammate. Your teammate is fully aware of all of this. He's sleeping with your wife. Your wife now divorces you, marries your teammate, takes your kids with her. Like that's obviously that's an extreme case of footballers are humans and they need to be taken care of, in the sense that he's going through everything that could go wrong in life. And obviously he's still a professional footballer, so he still needs to perform. But obviously he wasn't performing at the time. And that's the reason why you didn't hear much from him after that.
That's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, if we come back to the original point, that players, there's too many matches going on right now. And as a fan, that's great, in less time without football is better for me. But you also have to think about the well-being of the players. Because at the end of the day, if you think about the well-being of the players, the quality of the product will be better. Because it's not good when, somebody's key player is getting injured every single week. So I think, kind of the overall discussion of this episode, AFCON, there's got to be more, consideration for both views, both points of view concerning the debate about AFCON. And then players, we got to protect the players, man.
Yeah, definitely. Again, something that continues to be overlooked, but hopefully at some point, unfortunately, as I said, it's gonna need something drastic is gonna have to go wrong before it's properly considered. But the way that we're going now, it's not unlikely that that's not gonna happen sooner rather than later, and then the conversation will probably be had at that point. But yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Just before we bow out, just to follow our Linktree. Our Linktree has all of the relevant links and websites that you need to follow, whether it's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Apple Music that you're listening from. All those links are there. Thank you for the continued support, even our absence. And we're just going to try keep it more consistent, but also a higher quality as well in the coming weeks, coming months.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.